Welcome back, friends. This week we're talking all about how you can actually make that morning routine work for you and have your days go way smoother. So stick around because I'm going to tell you all my best tips. Are you ready to be more productive in your home and say goodbye to the dreaded mom guilt associated with a messy house and chaotic days? Hey, my name's Rachel, and the Mama Gets It Done podcast is for the everyday mom. Yes, even those hot mess moms who just need a little grace and a few tips for getting more done in your day. If you're ready to figure out how to stop hating cooking every night, how to give chaotic days a little more structure, and how to find more time for you in this crazy mom life, then you are in the right place. Hello, Mama friends. Welcome back to the Mama Gets It Done podcast. I am so excited to be talking about morning routines today because let's be honest, the way your mornings go can make or break your entire day. So finding a morning routine that works for you as a busy mom is like crucial to success, just like so crucial. It can literally change the outlook of it in just an instant. So stick around. I've got some really good tips here. I'm so excited to share, and hopefully you guys can figure out how to make your own morning routine that works just like we have figured it out. All right, my number one tip, and this is going to be our jumping off point here, is going to be do not rely on someone else's morning routine. I will give you a rundown of our morning routine in this, but I don't want you to rely on that as gospel to what you should be doing for your morning routine because everybody's needs are a little bit different, and you shouldn't try and force somebody's routine to work in your life. You've got to figure out what works for your own lives and your own children and, all that good stuff. That's one of the downfalls of the internet, right? Is you can find a million morning routines at the tip of your fingertips from Pinterest, and you can try and force it to fit in your schedule, but it just may not. Your work may start at a different time. Maybe you're not a morning person. There's just so many factors that go into a morning routine, and that you just really don't need to go off of other people's. Sure, get inspiration and guidance, but don't force it. I really encourage you to do your own research and come up with your own version of all these things that you may be seeing. And this is where you can start with this research, right? These things that I'm going to be talking about are a really good way to get your basics down so that you can figure out what works for you guys. All right. Number 2 tip is going to be track what you're doing now. So even if it's a mess, track how long it's taking you to do certain things in your day or in your morning routine and figure out how long is it taking you to do the brushing your teeth stage? How long is it taking you to do breakfast, to get dressed? Like all these little things that make up. How long does it take you to get to school? How long does it actually take you to get out of bed once your alarm goes off? Because you're not jumping out of bed right away. It's so funny. I am very much a morning person, so I can wake up pretty much within a minute or so of my alarm going off and be like, all right, let's do this. Whereas my husband and now my daughter, we have figured out, my 6-year-old, they both need some time before they get out of the bed. They need at least 5 to 10 minutes to actually get out of that bed. They are not morning people. They are grumps. Yep, I said it. They are grumps. And we have definitely figured out that they need something different in the morning. So we're working with that in our schedule and in our routine. So make sure we're tracking what we're doing at every single little aspect of that, because then you're going to have a really informed way to go about formulating the best optimal routine. And just keep in mind though, even though you have all these times and how you arrange them you may still tweak that differently, and it may change the times of the amount of time it takes to do all of these things. So this is a good baseline. But it doesn't mean that when you arrange them in a certain way, it's all going to work the same way. So keep that in mind. Okay. So another way to get your good, perfect morning routine down, number 3, is going to be think of what you can do ahead of time. So when you're trying to make mornings smoother, if your mornings are crazy and hectic, there are always steps you can take to remove obstacles and take away like stressors in your mornings so that they just move smoother. So it's like something you're just taking away from the morning routine. So after you time all those things, what can you take away? What are some things that are going to help? Having a simple plan for your day is a great idea. We can talk more about that later. We kind of talked about it last week if you want to go over our block scheduling method. But some small things that can be done the night before can make a major, major difference, or even on a weekly basis can make a major difference. Things like making your kids lunch, setting clothes out before bed, or even having like a weekly breakfast prepped are all super great ideas that can take away big things in the morning for you. For us, my daughter sets out her clothes the night before. I used to not be somebody who did this, but that is something that takes her a really long time. So we had to like move it to the night before. So clothes are set out the night before. I have most of the elements of lunch in an easy way. I freeze our sandwiches beforehand, so I just have to grab a sandwich, throw in some fruit, and throw in some chips. We have the same lunch every day. Yep. Or a pretty similar lunch. Like it's the same makeup. There's always like some kind of pretzels, chips, something, a fruit, something, a sandwich of some kind. And then I put her a sweet in there or something. And sometimes, they'll be more fun. Like sometimes I'll throw her some like hummus and chips and stuff like that in there. But I have a very basic lunch that I go by for most days because that's what we have to do right now to survive. It's okay if you're not preparing those Pinterest beautiful bento box lunches. While some kids do well on that, others just don't care and they'll eat it anyways. You can totally do weekly breakfast prep or monthly breakfast prep. Either way to make the breakfast portion go easier. Another really cool thing I just saw a mom do, who I'm friends with on Facebook, she got 5 bins from the Dollar Tree, just like normal little bins, and they're stacking, or maybe it was Walmart that she got them from, but either way, they stack up tall, and there's 5 of them. So in each one, she put socks, underwear, and a mask for school, and I'm like, that's genius. Like, how many mornings are you running around looking for clean socks for us's and a mask? Masks, not so much. We keep them in the car, not too bad. But like a clean mask, like keeping them clean is important. But socks for us, for some reason, is just terrible. Underwear is usually not so bad. We do have to search for a minute. But the socks, so it's like, oh, this is genius. I'm totally going to do this. I'm going to find some way to put this together to where we have all, like for my son and daughter, that we have clean underwear, socks, and masks for every single day, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to make my mornings better, and I'm pumped. There are all kinds of fun little hacks like that on the internet, and if you have any, make sure to share them with us. Maybe we'll have to start sharing like a productivity tip of the week or something like that. I think that would be really fun. So if you've got any fun productivity tips you want to share with everyone who's listening, definitely shoot me an email. And I'll have it in the show notes here. I think it's mamagetsitdonepodcast@gmail.com. And we can definitely start doing that each week. I think that would be super fun. All right. Make sure to include some time for you in this morning routine. So since we're creating, this is like the perfect morning routine, right? This is how to lay out the absolute perfect morning. And in the perfect morning, you have a few minutes for yourself. Right? You have a few minutes to like collect yourself and like not feel like you're rushing from the time you get up to the time you like lay down at night, right? You need a few seconds to like get it together. You can't see me in the podcast version of this, but in the YouTube, there's like some beautiful hand motions going on here. For me, this is usually like I go check in with my garden. Just for like 5 minutes. I go check in with my garden. I walk around and I drink my coffee. I just need a minute to like have some silence and collect myself. And then I can jump into the crazy and we can get ready. But this may look different for you. I know some people really like to. I'm not one to want to sit down and read first thing in the mornings. I have to get up and move. So I know some people like to sit down and do a devotion. Some people like to journal. Some people like to exercise. Whatever makes you feel put together and calm, do it. Whatever's going to get your day kicked off in a good way, do it. All right, so now that we've covered some of the basics here, let's really talk about where do you start on building this perfect morning routine and how do we get it right for you? All right, so first I want you to see all that time that you've tracked, right? And add it all together and work your way backwards. What time do you need to wake up to make this happen? What time do your kids need to wake up to make this happen? Because usually your duties and the kids' duties are two separate things, right? So know those numbers. It's important. And make sure too that when you're doing this, maybe this is where you're thinking you build in your you time right away, or maybe you need to build in your you time in the middle. But really remember here that you are the one who is setting the tone, you and your spouse both, if you have a spouse. You're the one who is setting the tone for your kids' days. This is what they're waking up to first thing. This is the attitude that they will go into school with. So when they feel you stressing all morning and you're getting so we all get so worked up, and I can tell you there's so many mornings where we're yelling, just get your shoes on and get in the car, go. And that's just not a good way to start a poor kid's morning when they're going off to school and they're supposed to be putting their best foot forward and learning something, right? So this is something I'm constantly having to remind myself too, is we are setting the tone right now for our entire day. So constantly making choices to where we're setting them up to have the best day possible, and then going from there. So after you've worked your way backwards, try and order your things and make this schedule. And try it a few times. You will have opinions on how you think this naturally should flow, right? And then after you try this a few times, change it, tweak it, figure out the best possible way to order your morning so that it works for you all. And sometimes changes will not make sense and you don't think you should do them, but they'll work. I've shared this story before on the podcast, but just in case you don't know, our morning routines used to be a lot more complicated because when my daughter first started kindergarten, I really didn't want her to get dressed until after she ate breakfast because I didn't want her to get her clothes all messy before school, and that is a real reality for us. But what I found was she would take so long to eat breakfast and dilly-dally that by the time she got to the point where she's supposed to get dressed, we maybe had 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, you got to get your clothes on, get your shoes on, find your shorts to go under your dress, and let's go. Get to the car and run. Get out of here. And sometimes she'd even still be finishing her breakfast in the car. She is definitely a dilly-dallyer. She is one that just needs to take her time in the mornings. And so eventually I was like, okay, this just is not working for us. We've got to find a better way. And so against my better thoughts, I switched it. I said, okay, you've got to get dressed as soon as you get up in the morning. And after you're dressed, then you can come and eat your breakfast. And lo and behold, I got a few minutes of quiet in the morning as I made breakfast and made lunches. And then she actually got dressed so quick and then got to eat. And then if she didn't finish eating, then she just took it with her in the car. And that was that. It made our mornings so much less stressful and took a ton of pressure off of all of us. And that was probably the best thing I've ever done. For our morning routine. So making changes and tweaks and listening to others for hacks. I mean, these are invaluable when you hear things like little things that just make your morning so much easier, right? So keep in mind that you want to change things. Don't always just leave it as is. Tweak it and track it. So, that's a cool little thing. Tweak it and track it. This is important. when you tweak, you need to track. You need to see like how much different, other than like tracking like your emotional feelings about it. Like how did we do like with all of us that morning? But how long did it take things to go, and did we shorten time here? Did we, and I know every part of our day does not need to be this succinct and precise, but I really think mornings is a place where it is important to really have the data on this. And this is like the data analyst coming out in me, but to really have the data on this and figure out what is going to work best can just make so much of a difference. This can move like mountains in your mornings. All right, so now that I've given you the real rundown on like all the tips and like all the basics of how you can build this, I'm going to share my morning routine with you so that you all kind of know how we flow. So we usually all get up around the same time, simply because I like my sleep. And in a perfect world, I would get up earlier than everyone else. But my son doesn't seem to let me do that, because as soon as I wake up, he wakes up right now. So that's just how our life is working. And then as soon as I wake up, I wake my daughter up, and then she gets dressed first. And then I go downstairs and I throw together some kind of breakfast and I assemble lunches. And then once they actually get downstairs to eat, usually they're eating or putting their shoes on, stuff like that. Once they eat, pack up the backpack, and we go. Brushing teeth happens somewhere in there, obviously after breakfast. And then after, my husband actually takes my daughter to school, and then I get my few minutes of me time. Either when he goes, I will let my son will go play outside with me, and I will take my coffee to the garden. Or if my son is being super needy that morning, I will hang out with him and just sit with him on the couch and chill. And then when my husband gets back, we switch and I go to the garden and do my me time. That is like a super succinct and simple thing of how our mornings are going right now. Right now she has to be at school, right before he has to clock into work and stuff. So it works out pretty well for us, for he takes her and I pick her up. And that way one person's not doing all the coming and going. It works out super well for us. He works from home. So, we split up a lot of things pretty evenly. And then after that, we move into our just kind of day routine, right? So it's super simple and small, but but the order that we have figured out definitely works. And if anything I would tweak is to get that me time flipped so that it's earlier. But one day we'll get there when my son's not sleeping with us in the bed, because he's 3. And as soon as he wakes up, either in the middle of the night or about 5 o'clock in the morning, and he comes to the bed to be with us. And so if I get out of the bed at like 6 or 6:30, he is out of the bed. No issue, no problem. Like, he is out. He is a me. He is a morning one. And now it's coming back to bite me, right? All right. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode. Definitely share with me what your morning's routines are going to be. Shoot us an email at the podcast email. I'll put that in the show notes so you have the actual email. Or you can always leave comments on any of the social medias that we have. Next week, we're talking all about why your meal plan isn't working. So I think you guys are going to really love that one. This is like one that I'm excited to talk about. It's the first food thing that we're kind of talking about on the podcast. And y'all know me, I love my meal prep. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Leave the podcast a like on social media platforms. Leave us a review. They're really important. And I really appreciate all of you all who have reached out to me and talked to me about how much you like the podcast and left reviews. Like, you all have made this so exciting, and I love it. I will see you guys next week, and give yourselves a little bit of grace and a lot of coffee. Goodbye.